welcome you. Oh, that was fun. So hello and welcome to the Small Business Forum. This is a program of the University of Arkansas Technology and Development Center, and we are extremely pleased to be able to bring you these programs to help support small businesses. We will be hosting this forum this month and into June around noon on topics that are based on your feedback, and social media strategy was one of those, so that's why we're here today. Please be advised that we will be recording the panel for ASB TDC education purposes, and as a registrant and attendee of this webinar, you will be emailed a survey to ask you about what else we can bring you in the future. We would love to stay connected with you, continue to stay connected with you after today. So if we cannot see your full name, please message Julie Preddy in the chat and send her your full name so that we can make sure we mark off your registration and you get to stay in touch with us. So I'm Amy Robinson, and I'm here today with my colleague and co-host Chris Case, and we are specialty consultants with the ASB TDC, and I'm going to turn it over to Chris to tell you a little bit about the center. You're still on mute, lady. That's okay.
I'm trying to stay on mute. I've got a lot of background noise, so I'm trying to stay on mute a little bit. But the ASB TDC is a one-stop shop for startups and existing small businesses. We are associated with the University of Arkansas and affiliated with the SBA and the statewide ASB TDC. That's a lot of letters there, but as well as a national network of more than 1,000 small business centers. Locally, we offer complimentary one-on-one consulting that includes business planning, marketing, analysis, and strategy, financial modeling, and much, much more. We also offer programs just like this one, covering the relevant topics for business owners. And if you're not already a client, we would really, really love to have you as a client. And you can do that by visiting us at sbtdc.uark.edu, and then you'll just click on get a consultation. So we hope to, after this, see you as a client. But Amy, I'll pass it back to you.
Absolutely. I'm about to introduce our experts and we will dive into talking about social media strategy. Today, we would love this to be hugely interactive. It is not just us talking to you, it's us talking with you. That's what a small business forum is about. And so we want you to ask questions of our experts here. We also want you to give us information and advice. If you have had some tips and tricks that are working for you right now, you're here to be with your fellow business owners. So please put those forward. Just go ahead and stay on mute unless you have a question, then unmute and we'll see your little square light up, or we'll see you unmute and we will get to you. We also welcome you to put any of your questions or comments in the chat. And speaking of chat, we would love to get to know you right about now. So if you would post in the chat a little bit about you, your business, or why you're here today and interested in this topic, it would really help us to get to know you and give a little context to our presenters. So today we're going to talk about social media strategy and how small businesses have been adapting to the constant change that's been going on and kind of what's emerging in this sphere. So today we have Faith Ron of ModThink. Say hello, Faith. Wonderful to see you. And we also have Lindsay Ramsey. She is can I say recovering founder of Kindness and Joy Toys.
I like that.
I call myself a recovering banker, so we're going to put you in that category. But she's now also an ASB TDC consultant with a focus on marketing. So I just want to open it up and say hello to both of you. I would love for each of you to tell us a little bit about some of the things that some of the biggest changes that you've been seeing for small businesses in the past year, and especially in relationship to social media marketing. Faith, I'm just going to start with you because you have a lot going on and you're coming to us from Dallas today.
Yeah, so sorry if you noticed me dropping out there for a second. My Wi-Fi is being weird, but what can you expect? Anyway, some of the biggest changes I've noticed in the last year, especially with social media marketing, is if you aren't on social media or if you aren't online, then you definitely need to be, especially with COVID shifting all of our lives to shopping online, working online, living online. Everything's online. And then another big change I've seen is the authenticity of what you're sharing, whether that is just your personal, but also with your business. People want to make that connection with you now more than ever, especially over the digital landscape. So yeah, those are a few of the big changes I've seen.
Absolutely. Lindsay, what's going on with the Lindsay? Kind of just a little bit of context. Lindsay was running Kindness and Joy Toys through the pandemic, and also being a consultant with ASB TDC, helping a lot of our clients. So I think you have many hats that you've worn through the pandemic and many stories to tell.
Yes, absolutely. I think social media played a more key role than ever during the pandemic because it was a quick, effective way to communicate with your customers and clients in an ever-changing landscape and world. I mean, at the beginning, we didn't know if we were open or not. We didn't know if we needed masks or not. Everything was changing. So I feel like we saw I think we really saw the importance as small business owners of building an audience and having one on social media. It was just a really quick way to get that word out. I also totally agree with Faith that because of the pandemic, it gave a platform for small business owners to be able to connect with their audience on a real personal, emotional level. I mean, so many of the small businesses you frequent, you're doing it because you want to buy local, you want to connect with the owner. And when you heard their stories about their struggle to be open or so many struggles I can't even name, that it really was an effective way to connect and build community with the client. And then also just changes, Faith can probably speak more to this than I can, but Facebook and Instagram have just rolled out a lot of different changes on the platform. That dreaded algorithm is constantly changing, and reels were not a thing on Instagram this time last year. And now if you can be posting reels on your Instagram feed, then you're going to be getting pushed into more people's feeds. And so we've seen a lot of changes on the platform too.
Yeah, I think those changes on the platform are definitely something that we want to dive into. And of course, if anybody has any very specific questions about changes that you've been seeing and you've been experiencing, please comments in the chat. Feel free to unmute. Let us know what you're going through and the changes that you've seen. In the meantime, I'd love to hear a little bit about, one of the things that you've mentioned several times, Lindsay, is that a lot of it is about time. Mm-hmm. And really, who's your customer, who you're talking to, and what are all the different channel options. So I'd love to hear a little bit about small businesses are doing all the things all the time. So finding the time to manage social media seems to be really a challenge. So what are some of the things that you've seen emerge that are working? And what are some of your top tips for some of that time management? And that's to both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things about social media is you have to be social, but you also have to be super consistent. Like, it's not something you can dabble in once a month or even once a week and effectively engage with your audience because of the whole algorithm and the interaction. And so as a small business owner, when you're you're paying the light bill and you're opening the door at 9 o'clock and you're probably serving customers and, oh no, there's a leak in the roof and you've got to handle that too. I mean, right, the hats go on and on and on. You've got to find a way to automate. I think that's the word that I'm using so much with businesses that I'm working with. I saw it be effective in my own business, but you have to automate social media. And what I mean by that is by using different scheduling softwares. I'm going to type the one into the chat that I found most effective for my small business. It's called Planoly. and it does have a free version. But what it does is it allows you to go in. I mean, you could schedule a month's worth of content, you could schedule a week's worth of content, and then it automatically goes there and posts. You don't have to approve it. It is out there and it's happening. And so that, if you're not already doing that, I see that Alicia is talking about that. And so I would highly recommend that. And Alicia, you're actually on my list to reach out to, because your consultant talked to me about Red Barn Donuts. And so I'll be happy to start talking with you about that real soon. But I feel like scheduling is very important.
Faith, what are you
If you
seeing?
want to add to that?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my Wi-Fi cut out there, but we were talking about time management, planning, scheduling, all that good stuff. I definitely think, at least with ModThink, what we do with our clients is we schedule out our content in what we call sprints. So I take it a month at a time, because I know with all the social media channels you could have, it can be like a big thing to take on. So I definitely think breaking it down month by month, it gives you a good enough time to get those on the calendar, and then it gives you a good time limit to then take a break, or not a break per se, but to check back in on how those posts were doing. Do you need to make any changes? Do you need to continue posting more? But like Lindsay said, social media is about staying consistent. You don't have to be posting every day, as long as you are staying on a consistent schedule. Definitely recommend consistency over quantity.
And also quality over quantity, to piggyback on what Faith was saying. I think that as a small business owner, and then clients that I work with, sometimes it's really easy for us to pay attention to the number of our followers. And we think, oh my goodness, like, you compare yourself to somebody else. They have 5,000 followers and I have 500. And so you think, what can I do to get more followers? Which that can be an effective strategy, but I think the quality of your follower is what's important. You would rather have 500 super engaged clients who are engaging with you on social media, who are showing up to your business and spending money, who are buying online, than have 5,000 who only followed you for a giveaway. I'm not saying I don't think giveaways are effective, because they can be, but who followed you as a giveaway. Or I know clients who have paid for followers, like you can buy bots that get you followers, and that follower number is not as important as how engaged your following is.
That's really important. Let's talk about engagement in just a minute. Let's talk a little bit about channels, because I've seen quite a few coming up here. Alicia, you mentioned, I see that you've got your hand up. Do you want to interject here a little bit?
Yes. Hello, ladies. This is such an eye-opening for me. What about, you're talking about the content of the posts? I have been focusing more on pictures than words, and it has been more successful in the last 2 weeks than write a worthy post like, oh, we have this and this and this, and just post a picture. And honestly, that was an eye-opening for me.
Absolutely, Alicia. I would say direct, instead of like a lengthy post, like almost like a blog post, shorter, real direct content with great pictures. That we are such a visual society. If you can draw them in with a great picture. And I would also add that video is performing really well on Instagram and Facebook for sure. So I think you're right. If you can get a great image with kind of a catchy caption, instead of trying to educate them on every aspect of your business in a caption.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We've noticed that with some of our graphics too, that people like seeing people's faces. So anytime you can share a picture of you at work, or just like a behind the scenes, I think it ties back into that authenticity point too. We want to connect, whether that's like in person or over social media. So I definitely agree.
Yeah, and I'll and Chris will post this in the chat, but I will direct you to some of our past programs. We had a great photography program with Nikki Toth that really went about like how you can capture those moments for your own business, and that authenticity is really important. There are tons of stock images and some other things like that out there, and some of those can be effective. But Nikki really talks about, there's a couple of them, photography series about post, and also how to kind of get that with your brand. I have a lot of people talking to us about some of these, couple of things. One, scheduling. So Planoly, Later, eClincher, that includes LinkedIn, and we've have Chris letting us know that Canva is a great tool for those images as well. And we do have some very recent Canva workshops. But I'd love to talk about channels for just a minute.
Amy, can I say one thing real quick about photography, and then
Yes,
we can go on to that? I also want to let you know that coming up in July, we have a really great, this is exciting, we're going to get to do an in-person workshop with Nikki Toth that Amy was referring to. It'll more than likely be in our Bentonville office, but it will be an in-person photography, smartphone photography session where you can bring some of your own products. You'll be able to learn tips from her, like use your phone, be really hands-on in that session. So stay tuned to your ASB TDC email, your newsletter over the summer to learn more about that.
Absolutely. So channels, lots of questions about channels. What is most efficient for whom? You talked a little bit about Instagram and Reels. LinkedIn is coming up quite a bit. And Faith, I know that you all do quite a bit with LinkedIn. And then Facebook, we've got in the chat about Facebook groups being effective and just how to increase engagement on Facebook. So let's kind of save Instagram for last, and let's kind of talk about LinkedIn and Facebook right now, and what that looks like and what's going on there that people can maximize, and if it's right for their business.
Faith, I'll let you take LinkedIn. I'm not as familiar.
Yeah, sounds good. I was going to say, I'll start with LinkedIn. So LinkedIn actually is coming up. I think it's more now than just networking with people in your business. Well, that's still like the base of that platform and what it's great for. I think using LinkedIn for businesses can be very effective if done correctly. LinkedIn's starting to kind of pull some of the same features that Instagram and Facebook have. I believe now there's LinkedIn stories that you can have, those 24-hour quick pictures and behind the scenes videos and all that good stuff. So definitely want to start utilizing that more. LinkedIn also has a live feature. You do have to, I believe it's still kind of in beta testing, where you do have to be approved to have LinkedIn Live. But the fact that they're looking into all these different new video features,
Freezing up just a little bit.
shows that they're starting
there
to.
She is. We lost you for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just back it up. LinkedIn Live is coming up. So LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn Stories, all of these kind of point to them wanting to compete with that Facebook platform and Instagram platform. And it might be something to look into for your business. So
do you have any tips on some differences or even reuse of content? So one of the things about platforms is that you've got a lot of content, but are there ways to adapt that content for the different platforms, but really kind of have the same, kind of have similar messaging, so you're not kind of recreating the wheel for every single platform? And what does that look like when it gets to LinkedIn? What are some of the best things to post there?
yeah, so for LinkedIn, a lot of it we do, or it's very, you can move it from platform to platform. One of the big differences I would say is almost like a hashtag strategy that we use at ModThink. Instagram loves hashtags. You can use like 10 to 20 in a post. But for LinkedIn, what we found was best was using about 3 to 4. So you can have your branded, which for ModThink would be hashtag ModThinking. So it has a brand name in it. And then you can have more generic hashtags along with it. So hashtag marketing or hashtag social media marketing. So that's one of the biggest difference is how you draft your caption. It's more like Facebook where you can have a longer one. and I would change the hashtag strategy for that. And then to not recreate the wheel. I mean, I still find that pictures of people do better on LinkedIn. So those translate very well. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think also on transferring content, it's important to know that each of those platforms that we're discussing, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, they all handle links differently. So one common thing I see is that you're going to use the same caption on all three platforms. And so for Facebook and LinkedIn, you can copy a link straight into that post, and then the user can click on the link and go to wherever you're sending them. But on Instagram, that is not the case. If you copy that in, it's just a dead link. There's no hyperlink, and it just doesn't look like it frustrates the user because they can't get to that information. To use a link in Facebook, you would need to direct them to your profile where you could copy any link, or you can use something like Linktree and the other name, Faith, if you remember, it's escaping me. There's a couple popular ones out there, but Linktree would allow you to list out 4 or 5 links. And so I think that's important to really know the difference between the platform. Like, you can share content, but you need to make sure that you know how you're handling links. And then also, I'm the one, along with a really great marketing intern, that helps with our ASB TDC social media. And an example, like Amy brought up, how you handle the same content across all the platforms. So for us, we are on Instagram and Facebook, and we are also on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, we find that the people that follow us there are bankers and CPAs. So I write those captions differently for the same event for LinkedIn, because I'm trying to reach the banker and say, do you have clients who might need social media help? Send them our way. But on Instagram, it's you that are on this call that are following us. And so I'm going to be speaking directly to you. Did that come across clearly, Faith? Correct me if it doesn't. But different platforms kind of have different audiences.
Well, and Lindsay, to your point, I think what's really important is knowing your audience, who's following you on Facebook, who's following you on Instagram, and then really customizing your message to that group of individuals.
Right. And I'll say one more thing, Faith, then I'll toss it to you because I'm talking too much. But like, for example, my toy store, Kindness and Joy Toys, what Chris is saying is very applicable, because I knew that on Facebook, the majority of people following me there were grandmas or even great grandmas. And a lot of the people following me on Instagram were the actual moms or aunts of the child. And so I often tailored my captions differently. I gave different products, because a grandma will buy something that a mom won't buy. I mean, the grandma's going to buy the thing with 725 pieces, and the mom doesn't want 725 pieces. So to Chris's point, just kind of knowing your audience and adapting what you say to them based on the platform that you're using.
Yeah, 100%, because we found with some of our clients, LinkedIn has actually been a really good platform for them. However, for some of our other clients, Instagram, where their audience was more college students, and the younger generation. So college students and incoming freshmen were more active on Instagram. And we saw that with the posts that they were interacting with were of their peers and stuff. And then on LinkedIn, what we found was more of those business professionals. So we definitely gear your caption towards your audience on your platform.
I think we might even need like an entire Instagram workshop. Lindsay, I'm just going to throw that out there. But one is, so let's talk a little bit about Facebook and dive a little bit into engagement, because I do know that engagement on Facebook, it's much more conversational, like you said, Lindsay, longer posts, and then you have things like Facebook groups, and you just have a lot of different kinds of options. So what are you finding are the best uses for Facebook? And then somebody else mentioned, and I'll throw this in there because I really think that Facebook is where a lot of this happens, just social media fatigue, like personal, emotional social media fatigue, and kind of how to manage that. So really honing in on what's best for your business, how to maximize it and use it. But I think that Facebook falls into that almost more than LinkedIn and Instagram in a lot of ways. So two-part question is, what are all the options? When is it best for you and your business? And then how to manage that.
Well, Facebook is constantly changing things, which Facebook owns Instagram. So yes, Instagram's changing too, but I feel like the landscape on Facebook seems to be changing more quickly. I agree that for some of you, a Facebook group could be super effective. If I remember right, I'm scrolling back up in the chat. I feel like somebody was a lactational consultant, nutritionist. Okay, I can see that. Millie working really well. No, that yeah. Yes, Millie, that's right. I can see that working really well for you because you could really focus in on a smaller audience and build some community in that. People may be willing to open up and share in a way in a Facebook group that they're not going to on the main page where everybody could see that. For something like a retail space, that wasn't necessarily something I ever tried to go after. But I think that's one thing about Facebook. And then I'm not really sure, Faith, how much you're familiar with Facebook Live, but I will say that that can be a super effective tool in communicating because they may not read a full post but people like to feel like they're getting in on something live, and those can be posted to your feed later so they can scroll through and see those things.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say with especially Facebook and Instagram, I feel like those platforms are almost more of like a casual, personal, people want to make those connections there, as opposed LinkedIn is kind of still in that like business box, like let's network. So definitely, I would not undersell the importance of video, whether that is live videos, the Facebook stories, even.
And I'll keep going on the video realm because that's what Faith is talking about. I think another thing too is that small businesses get afraid of video a little bit, and you really honestly don't need some kind of like, I'm talking about video, Faith, I'm kind of piggybacking on you here. You don't really need some kind of fancy camera. Like your iPhone or smartphone camera has a high enough resolution for you to be able to capture some great video content. So I encourage you to try that. If you haven't done that ever, or you haven't done it in a while, try that this week on your platforms. You could do something as simple as just a quick introduction. So remind them who you are and why you're doing this. But I encourage to try video.
And Lindsay, you had us consultants do that on Tip Tuesday. And I was so intimidated by it. And I thought there's no way. And I waited until you finally bugged me for the 15th time. And then I thought, okay, I'm just going to give in and do it. It was so easy. You just kind of hold your phone up and you just be you. And people want to see you and get to know you. So it's a lot easier than what you think.
It is, and perfection is not what you're looking for. If you flub over a word and you say red when you meant to say blue, just correct yourself and keep going. I think it's important just to kind of put yourself out there and try it and not expect like exact perfection, because that goes back to Faith's point earlier about authenticity. I mean, I think we set ourselves up, and especially in our area, because we are the home to the world's largest retailer and some major corporations, and we see their marketing, and so we think that ours has to look like that, and it doesn't. Like you can be real and authentic and connect with your audience in that way.
Yeah, I think that you've mentioned that several times about that misperception about, what everybody wants to see or doesn't want to see. I'd love to hear from anybody here, kind of what you're experiencing, any of those big questions. I think we've kind of addressed the things that you've posted in the chat, but would love to hear a little bit about, and you're welcome to raise your hand or just unmute and we'll see you. But what you're experiencing, any tips that you have found have been working for you a little bit better, because you've got your fellow business owners out here. Authenticity has been a huge topic that we've talked about. Faith, we've touched a little bit on the formulas that are changing and some of the other things that are going on. Is there anything top of mind to you that people really like, something maybe big that changed that might be changing what's going on for them? I know that I saw a really big gap in some things that I did that were like, I was like, where did everybody go all of a sudden? And I wasn't sure what that was about. But before you answer that, I see Millie has a question. So Millie, let us know what you got going on.
Well, more just a statement. So I put in the comments about social media being so overwhelming, only because trying to separate like getting on there for the purpose of business and not going down the millions of rabbit holes, and then navigating learning these new platforms that I've not been a part of. So I have a LinkedIn profile for professional stuff. Yes, that's been there, but then shifting into being an entrepreneur and like kind of moving outside of LinkedIn, being there just for looking for a job, but then trying to make it to where, okay, now I'm going to promote and maximize my services and things like that. Scheduling is a challenge, to like schedule, okay, block this amount of time that this is what you're going to do. But then you're like, oh, this was a really cute graphic that I saw on Instagram. How do I do that? So I found myself, asking my daughter, like, would you tell me how to do this? Like, oh, then there's TikTok. Look, these people put these TikToks on their Instagram. I need to learn how to do that. I was like, oh, and so, I'm like so way off base. But one thing I'm not so proud of myself that I did the other day was just, I did a live. And I did that on my personal Facebook page. And what I did was shared in that story, but then I put on my Instagram, hey, just did a live on Facebook, go check it out. So I was like, I'm getting a rhythm, but it is very overwhelming. And so I'm like trying to give myself grace and permission because I'm a little perfectionist. So like I can deal with the fact that the live can be vulnerable and all of that, but it's that dichotomy of like thinking, the professional side versus the personal side, and then marrying those is just challenging.
That's totally a challenge, and I would agree with that. I think the thing to tell yourself too is that you're on these social platforms where the people you're interacting with are not businesses, they are individuals. So you're kind of connecting with them on that level. Like I think it's different if I'm like a business selling to other businesses, or I'm a doctor and I'm posting to other doctors, then there is maybe like a different level of professional. That's a bad example, but I can't really come up with one on the fly. So I would just encourage you, remember that like you have to be social to engage in these, and like being authentic is part of that. I would also say, don't overwhelm yourself with multiple platforms. Yes, TikTok is hot right now, but I mean, if it doesn't go after the audience that you have, like there's no reason to mess with it. Like be really, really good at one platform and be pretty dang good at a second is kind of what I tell my small business owners, so that you don't like overwhelm yourself with so much, because social media can be a full-time job for the smallest of businesses. So you have to make sure you can really do at least one platform really effectively.
And Lindsay, is that like trial and error? Because, for some of these, and I'm thinking about Millie, for her, is it Facebook and Instagram? Is it, LinkedIn? How do you kind of try to decide which one of the platforms is best for your style of business? Is it trial and error? Is it talking to you?
So, well, you can definitely call me. If you're not already a client, sign up down there. The link's right there, and we'll be happy.
I'll post the link.
That's right. We've got a great group of marketing professionals that can help with that, that work alongside me. I think it's trial and error. And I think it's kind of just knowing the demographics of your business. Like I mentioned, I keep going back to the toy store example, but I knew that my 25 to 40-year-old moms are really active on Instagram. So that's where I went after it. And Facebook was my secondary. So I think that is it's trial and error, like Chris mentioned, but also just the basic demographics of what these platforms are. Like, for example, we have some clients at the center that are based around the University of Arkansas, and I don't know TikTok well. I'm not even on TikTok, but it is important for my businesses that cater to college students to have a basic understanding of TikTok, because that's where their market is. So I think it's kind of looking at the age and interest of your customer base.
Faith, I know you all do a lot of personas and other things as well, and I know that as a lot of our ASB TDC clients, we walk them through that as well. What are you finding is effective, and also kind of there's also, I think both of you might agree, there's a comfort of what you're comfortable with. Like, yes, you should get out of your comfort zone, but what are you feeling effective at as well? And like Lindsay said, everybody should do video, but what do you what do you think, Faith?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that's being said here. And it's kind of like taking me back to like when I first started my job, because yeah, when I started, I was like, oh, okay, we need to be on Instagram, then there's Facebook, then there's LinkedIn, but what about Pinterest? But then there's like a Snapchat, but like, does that really work? So we definitely have narrowed it down to like those big three: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, that we've all been talking about. And I will say with one of our clients, we did try to almost like meld the two together for Instagram as a personal platform and as a professional. And we actually just now kind of stepped back from posting more of those professional work, business oriented posts on his Instagram, and kind of made it more of a personal, because that's what got the engagement. That's what it started as. So going back to those roots, that's never a bad thing. And then for another one of my clients, we had the LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And right now we're taking a step back from Facebook, because her two target personas are freshmen, so incoming students to the university, and then business professionals. So we found LinkedIn was best for our business professional persona, and then Instagram was where all of the college students were. And like going off of TikTok being the new up and coming platform, something that I like to keep in mind is all these platforms are also competing with each other. Just like Instagram's response to TikTok becoming new was Instagram Reels. So now you do have that feature to make those short, quick videos that are so popular right now. So.
Absolutely. Alicia, what have you, comment, question, both?
I have a question. So I have my personal LinkedIn, and I haven't even tapped to that. I never thought about selling donuts on LinkedIn, but my target audience, what I am trying to do now is to sell more like to hotels. And as we are going back to the office, I want to cater to those people going back to the office to have like their meetings. They can order online in my shop and all that. So with that being said, do you think that I should build a presence in LinkedIn with my store? And another question is, how I don't want to bump people like every day, like buy this, or this is our new flavor, or this is on LinkedIn. So how often should I post?
I'm going to let you answer whether she should be on LinkedIn or not, but I want to say something to what you just said about every day feeling like you're writing, buy this, taste this, look at this. I think that's one thing on content. I keep a note on my phone, just in my notes apps, of content ideas. And I know for Red Barn, like there's a story behind that. How long, because I just looked at some stuff today for you, how long it's been located in Rogers, and then how your family came to have it. So make sure that you are mixing in some social connection posts. Everybody needs to do this in with the buy this, just now available, book me for your service, those kinds of sell posts. They need to kind of be flowing in and out so that you are connecting with them, and you're not trying, like I felt like I was cramming toys down people's throats all the time. And I had to figure out some education posts and some image and connection posts in there too. And then Faith, I'll let you answer the LinkedIn question.
Yeah, I think if you're wanting to kind of expand your business into the hotel sphere and office area, I definitely do recommend LinkedIn, because if you happen upon networking events, or if you're out, and it's kind of like another way of giving your business card, is what I like to think of with my personal LinkedIn. And when you meet those people, you can always look them up on LinkedIn and connect with them that way. And then on your LinkedIn, you can kind of mix in those personal professional posts along with your business ones, to keep driving them back to either your Instagram or your website, just using that as another platform to kind of move them down that funnel. So I would recommend trying it out. And again, like we said, if it doesn't work, I mean, keep it updated with your personal, professional growth, but doesn't mean you have to keep it going for your business.
We just have a few more minutes. Again, we want this to be kind of a lunch break nibble for all of you. So please do let us know if you have some more questions. I'd love to hear from both of you. Just what you wish everybody, all of your businesses knew. What is the thing that, they come to you and it's just, what is it that you wish that everybody knew that doesn't when they walk through your door as a client? Is there any tidbit that you're just like, everybody needs to know this?
I think my favorite thing, I feel like sometimes I'm a broken record, but we had a small business forum that you could go watch. It's recorded on kind of telling your story about your business. And Amy helped me with his name, the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast.
Randy Wilburn.
Randy Wilburn. One of the things that Randy said that I've been using over and over again is that you need to make a list of the top 50 questions asked about your business, and that's your social media content. You need to answer those questions. And for small business owners, that solves more than one problem. It is almost like having an employee that answers the questions that you don't have to answer. But if you step into that education piece where you're answering those questions on social media, it can help you with that time management, and it also is great content. So that's kind of my big tip. That's not really mine, but I'm sure passing it along because I feel like it's a great one.
Yeah, we also have Bill popped in and mentioned that there's a lot of info out on Cadence selling that will answer how often and what media questions. So thank you for that resource, Bill. I appreciate that. Faith, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think what Lindsay shared was great. Like having those lists of questions, that's a great way to build content, because as you go through them, you can either, you can make content from them, whether it's like lists or answer them through videos or through graphics. So that's a great way to get a bunch of different content. And then the other thing, a kind of tip, I guess I would tell like a new client is, don't stress. Like we said, it's definitely overwhelming, especially with all the new platforms coming out. I'm sure these won't be the only ones that'll come up in the next couple years. But just be aware of your audience. I think that's one of the biggest things is keep going back to that buyer persona. If you're thinking about posting a piece of content, like go back to that list of questions, and does it answer one of those questions, or is it just another quick like, oh, well, I saw that this was popular on this platform, so I should do it too. But if it doesn't answer what questions your audience is asking or what questions your audience wants to know about your business, then don't do it. Like it's not worth the time. So
a lot of things. What about on scheduling? Because both of you are saying don't stress, try things out, just kind of experiment, tell your story, all of those things. And we did this at the top of the conversation about scheduling. And some of the things that people can do. What do you feel like is working the best for scheduling? Is there anything that you've got like a top tip, and like other than, I think Lindsay, I think one of the things that you've said is do what works best for you. But any other things on scheduling, because that definitely has come up today.
I'm muted. I didn't realize that. One of the things I say, last summer before I sold my business, I really got into scheduling my social media. Before, I had been doing it on the fly, which meant that I could be picking up my kids in car line and I'm like, oh, dang it, moms are on their phones and I didn't post. So I was posting, or we'd be at the dinner table or some family birthday party and I'm like stressed out because I haven't posted on social media. And last summer, I really got my acting gear and I started getting up every morning, which everybody was home last summer. But I would get up early and I would schedule the day's post, and it would take me 10 to 15 minutes, but I knocked it out. And what took me 10 to 15 minutes in the morning would have taken me total an hour or more on the fly because I wasn't focused. And then I got interrupted and all these things happened. So I just, whether it's once a day, once a week, or whatever that cadence looks like for you, I just really encourage you to try that. My goals to you would be to try video, and I was going to be transparent and show you I'm on social media all the time. I do webinar presentations like this, and I have torn apart a little paper clip because when I'm nervous, I fidget with something. So whether you've done it never or you do it all the time, those anxieties still happen. You just got to get out there and try it. And then, so that would be my challenge to you. And then second would be to work on scheduling. It can be as simple as writing it on a napkin or a piece of paper, and that's your schedule. It doesn't have to be some big complicated thing. Just kind of know what you're going to post and when you're going to post it.
Faith, you mentioned kind of a monthly calendar and getting ahead of it that way. What are some of those strategies that you all have seen work?
Yeah, so I definitely recommend getting ahead, at least on the idea of what you want to post. So I love my planner. I have one dedicated just to writing down content ideas, because once you start like that brainstorming, like you can get into that flow and you're like, oh, this will be a good one. I recommend maybe posting 2 to 3 times a week. If it's Instagram, I would lean more towards 3 times. But just sitting down and going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then writing down one of those questions and how can I answer it, and maybe you make a list. And one of the good tips or pieces of advice that I'd heard was that like it takes 5, don't hold me to that number, but 5 times before it actually like sinks into someone like what you've told them. So don't be afraid if you're like repurposing content over and over again, because again, with all these algorithms changing, like Instagram, it's not chronological anymore. Now it's like what's most relevant to your timeline. Facebook's kind of turning that same way, and LinkedIn even has a feature where you can make it most relevant post to me or who posted most recently.
Yeah,
so,
just think about it. Think about it like you're talking to your kids, right? You have to say it 8
and
times.
Also, not every follower is going to see every post. So even if you feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again, remember that it's pretty much probably only your mom or your dad who's seeing every post. At least that's how it was for me, because my mom liked everything. So remember that most people aren't seeing every post.
Yeah, that kind of definitely shifted my viewpoint, especially when it came to repurposing content. So now with some of our clients, we're going back to what questions did we answer at the beginning of the year that we should probably bring back up that people are still asking us. And so.
Exactly. Well, we can't thank you all enough for being here. And I mean, all of you businesses out there. We've got quite a few of you here today. So I hope that you know that you are not alone in trying to figure all of this out. And we really appreciate you having your time, taking your time with us. We will be hosting another forum next month. We'll be talking about engaging locally. And again, it'll be the Small Business Forum at noon, the last Wednesday of June. So we just want to thank you all again for being here. You can find this recording at asbtdc.uark.edu and /webinars. Apparently that link changed recently. So thank you, Julie, for getting us on that. Chris, can you tell us about our social media and all the other ways that you can find us?
Absolutely. I've been posting like crazy in the chat. So you should be able to find a lot of information there, but you can find a full listing of our webinars, our workshops, our videos, past information, and numerous tools and resources to help you support your small businesses at this location. It's sbtdc.uark.edu. We are also posting a lot of great information on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So please go and catch us on there. We've got a lot of great things that come out on a very regular basis. But again, you guys, thank you so much, Lindsay and Faith, for all your information. Like I said, Amy, I say it every time, I always learn something. I was writing down my own notes over here to the right. But thank you guys so much, and we will see you hopefully next month.
See you all next time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.